everyone, welcome to the Deanery series. I'm Christina, Kristina. Before we get started, please hit the thumbs up and like and subscribe. My computer keeps hanging up on me, I don't know why. So we're gonna try this again. Keep your fingers crossed it works. Please hit the thumbs up, let me know I'm doing a good job. And today we're talking about the Vengeance Factor, Disc 3 in Season 3. And it's the first episode, 157, The Vengeance Factor. And they beam down to the planet, and I want to know how they know where to beam down. I mean, they beam down into this room, and how do they not beam? Has there ever been an accident where they beamed into furniture, is what I'm saying. So anyway, they beam down to the room, and it looks like it's been torn apart. And it was reminding me of the room from one of the last episodes where the scientists were doing the viewing. But anyway, so there's all this debris everywhere. It's been tossed. It looks like it's been gone through. It also reminds me of the room from Star Trek Voyager, that time thing where Captain Janeway and Paris went through to the other time zone where there had been a nuclear explosion on the planet. We'll get to that later on. So anyway, they beam down to the planet, and the room's full of debris, and Dr. Crusher finds a piece of metal or whatever with blood on it. So then they go into the next room and they find people that are unconscious. So they go to commercial break or whatever we're going to call it, and we come back and they're in sick bay, and Dr. Crusher is examining the patients, and she says that they've been stunned a few times, but they'll be okay. She also has analyzed the blood, and it turns out it's Akamarian blood. So Picard says this means it was the Gatherers. You remember that old series? I meant to have it down here and I forgot. You remember the old book series, The Borrowers? You'll have to go check it out. I meant to look it up and I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm not doing my best today. So they discuss it, and Data gives the background information on the Akamarians, and then Picard tells Wesley to set course for the Akamara system. And I want to know how they know. Does he look it up in the computer database? Is there a list of systems in the database, and he just goes, "Oh yeah, there it is, Akamara, press the button and go." I don't know. I was just saying. So they get to the Akamara system, and Nancy Parsons. It's just the relationship, and I guess the clothing, the hairstyle. I don't know what it was about this, and I had to look it up to make sure it wasn't the same people, and it wasn't the same people. But Marok, Nancy Parsons reminds me a lot of Patty Edwards, who was in the Dauphin episode with Wesley Crusher, where they were she changed into the characters. And I could have sworn it was like a really similar name, Minnow, Maruk. It was just so similar, and it drove me crazy the whole episode that I kept referring to the previous episode. So Marok thinks about hunting down the Gatherers, and Picard says no. He'd rather see if we can negotiate a treaty. So he said there's nothing to lose by making the effort, and Maruk is like, all right, let's go, let me get my servants, and she gets her taste tested. And all right, I guess since we had a love interest for Troy in the last episode, now we gotta have a love interest for Riker in this episode. But I'm telling you, she's just a little, all right, spoiler alert, while she looks like she's 21 or 2 or 3, she's a lot older, but that's not till the end of the episode. So in the meantime, I still think she's a little young for Riker, just the character, the person, who, whatever you want to call it. she's just a little young, and it was just the whole thing just So he tries to make a play for her. Well, since she's the taste tester, she must be the cook, and she must have some really good recipes. And he's like, well, I'd like to try one of these recipes. And I'm sitting there going, are we doing the soap operas again? What is it with, be sci-fi. Stop being soap opera-y. I'm sorry. This one strand went too small. So, we're back on the bridge again, and they look at the planet, and Data says there are structures, people, and combustion. And Wesley turns to Data and goes, campfires. How do you get campfires from combustion? I don't know. I guess you could. I was thinking smoke or something. That I guess it's campfire. Like the homeless people with the little fires, I guess. So they beam down to the planet, and there's a lot of junk. And I don't know. It looks to me like an abandoned movie set. Maybe there was an action movie there at one point. I'm pretty sure we'll see this again in a couple of future seasons. It looks familiar to me. The set, they could have just, it could have been a movie set or an amusement park set that they were building or constructing, and they had all the what are those things called, the construction people with the ladders and the crisscross frames and the pieces of wood. I forget, but it just reminded me. So they get down there, and there's all this junk, and I'm just wondering where all the stuff came from. Maybe an old movie, but I just said. So then they have a shootout. And Riker says we are here to talk, and then Worf says they only understand the gun, the phaser thingy. Like, what? Talk first. Always talk first. Try and do things peacefully first. That's all I'm saying. So then they psych him out. They do the smoky thing. Riker's like, what thing will make that thing smoke? And Data's like, well, this thing. So they do this thing, and it smokes, and then they go, we're beaming out, and they fall for the trick that they're beaming out. So then they get together, and they want to speak. Where was I? They want to speak privately, and they start getting all, bullying, and I didn't like the bullying. I don't like when anybody tries to make fun of anybody else, and they had the guy drink, and they poured the water like waterboarding. Was that necessary? I didn't like that when they put the guy on the ground and they poured the water on his face. So then the guy says he wants to speak to Marok privately. She tells him the clan wars are over. It's time to come home. And then Yuta leaves or sneaks away, and she kills that guy. And then when the talks kind of break up, they find the guy that Yuta killed. And, she went like this. Now, the guy was wearing a leather mask. So technically, in my first of all, she never actually physically touched the, and then he had the plastic here, the leather thing here. So how could she have poisoned him by touching him here through the, all right, I know I'm getting picky. I'm sorry, I'm just saying. So they take the guy back up to the ship, and Dr. Crusher's like, he died of a heart attack, but she doesn't understand why he died of a heart attack, because his heart's strong. I'm not. So, Brule, Brule's costume reminds me a lot of the Klingons, all the stuff the Klingons wear. It just looked a lot. It just reminded me of the Klingons outfit, that's all. Um, and I don't care for the way Brule treats Wesley. It's just another bullying thing. Why do people have to um think that they need to be superior to people all the time and talk to people like that? It's uncomfortable. Um, and then Picard and Moreau talk about the history of the planets, and then we're with Brule and Wesley again, and it's a little. It starts off with the bullying thing again. He takes his computer, laptop, iPad from him, and it's like math, and it's weird math. And so the guy talks about his. They have a small bonding thing, and then Yuta prepares the meal for Riker and Troy, and Troy's like, "Come on, join us, sit down." And she's like, "No, I don't want to intrude." And Troy's like, "Oh, okay, I'll leave." You know, I still want the writers to go for Troy and Riker by this point. I really do. I'm getting awful small. Um, so and what was I thinking? Oh, that it was uh Mongolian or pepper beef from the Chinese place. That's what it looked like with the green and the meat. It looked like Chinese food to me. So he tastes it and it's good. And um, I want to know what the beverage is. They're eating all this food and they're not drinking anything. Um, and then I I just I know it's plot line and stuff, but she didn't really have to leave. But for Troy, for Riker and Yuta to make Google eyes at each other, Troy had to leave. Um, and please call me William. Oh, good grief! I was so Barbara. So then, the whole thing just made me uncomfortable, completely uncomfortable. And so Dr. Crusher calls Commander Riker and says that I've discovered something interesting. So she calls Commander Riker, and then she goes, "I've discovered something interesting." Well, okay, whatever. So then he goes to the sick bay, and she says that the guy was murdered, that there was a specific toxin that was only meant to kill this specific type of person. So someone had to be familiar um, to the guy species. It was specifically made for this guy species. And then Yuta goes to Riker's quarters, and he's trying to relax. And it reminds me of the previous episode where Troy goes to her quarters and she wants the real ice cream, and she goes on, and she has a little battle with the computer before Picard calls it to 10-4. So it just reminded me of that. And he was laying down, relaxing, and he told the person to come in. I would have sat up first because it could have been anybody coming into the room. And yet he lays there until she enters, till he sees who it is. I would have sat up because it could have been Captain Picard, and you don't want to be laying down when the captain walks in the room. But I'm sorry. So then they talk a little bit and they kiss a little bit, and it's just the whole thing just made me so uncomfortable because she's just so young. And then of course there's Jeannie Francis. But I don't feel that uncomfortableness with Riker and Troy, but I felt it with him and this girl because she was just so young. So then they go see Kurgan to discuss peace, and Riker is unhappy that Picard is going to go down there alone. And then they try to talk to Kurgan about doing peace, and he doesn't believe it at first, and they start making a little headway. And then back on the ship, Crusher and the gang find out that this other guy died of the exact same thing 53 years ago. And then Data finds the picture and he moves all the people from the picture, and there's Yuta in the background. So Riker beams over to the ship in the middle of this negotiations with his weapon, and he's like, Yuta, you can't do this. And after a little bit of discussion, she finally confesses that this is what she was meant to do, and they rearranged her DNA and the whole 9 yards. And she's got to do this. It's her mission. It's what she's lived for. And there are so many people in this world that it's just a lot to go into. But it's just in her mindset that this is what she's got to do, and she's going to do it even if she dies. And Riker fires at her, and she's like, no, but I'm still going to do this. And he fires it again, and she's like, no, I'm still going to do this. So then he kills her. And it's just I hope the Shogun and Manuk made up, and Maruk, whatever. I'm still getting the 2 episodes confused. But then we find them in 10 Forward, and Picard tells Riker that he's going to extend shore leave for the crew. He thinks everybody needs it after the past couple of days. So there you go. There's the vengeance factor. And at least my computer didn't turn me off more than twice. You don't know this, but my computer turned me off twice during this episode. So thank you, and please hit the like and subscribe. I'm really trying to get 10 or so per video. My average video gets about 2. I would like 10, 20, 30, 40. A person can dream, can't they? I know it's unrealistic, but humor me, peeps, and give me the old thumbs up and let me know I'm doing a good job. And next we'll talk is the deficit. We'll talk about that next. Thank you.